Hello and welcome to All the Way Down, a YouTube channel all about the Scottish rock band Biffy God.
All the way down, all the way down.
For this video I want to start talking about Biffy's relationship with God. At the time of researching this video, every single lyric in Biffy Clyro's back catalogue has been written by Simon Neil, the frontman. In terms of subject matter, it's pretty common knowledge to any Biffy fan that after the first 3 albums, lyrics became a lot more comprehensible and, for want of a better word, understandable. On the face of it, and perhaps slightly cynically, the move to a major record label in 2006 could have influenced this, in a bid to capture a wider fanbase. But it was clear that the death of his mother definitely influenced him to write more purely and cathartically about the effect this had on him. With songs like Living as a Problem, Machines and Folding Stars, Simon's words spoke far more directly to his listeners. Personally, this felt like a nice change when it happened, as it was a stark contrast to the lyrics of Blackened Sky, The Vertigo of Bliss and Infinity Land. I wouldn't want to count the minutes I spent pondering the words to With Aplomb, There's No Such Thing as a Jaggy Snake and Convex Concave. I wasn't the only one either. The Biffy Online forum had countless threads discussing certain songs and their possible meanings. Regarding the last one, Convex Concave, I do remember quite a heated discussion in which the author posed the idea that it's actually about Simon's relationship with his own guitar. I suppose that's what's fascinating about the lyrics in the first 3 albums. They sounded a bit like cryptic messages that every fan could decode in their own way. But in their more transparent material, there's a wealth of areas Simon has obviously pondered about. Death, grief, relationships, love, mental health, and even national division. But there's one aspect of his writing I find myself catching quite regularly. God. In every album cycle so far, including the B-sides, there seems to be references to God or religion in some form, some subtle or some very obvious. But he has made comments on his stance on religion in the past. In a Radio 1 interview with Joe Wiley in 2009, Simon explained a lot of his tattoos and where they came from. They featured a gun with the Virgin Mary inside it tattooed on his side, the Beach Boys lyrics God Only Knows Where I'd Be Without You, which are lyrics on his chest, and just above the gun he has a piece of Dali artwork, which is the crucifix of St. John. Watching this for the first time, it would appear this is Simon's expression of his religious beliefs, with 3 clear religious symbols inked into his skin. But whilst hosting a tour of his tattoos, he said, "I'm not at all religious, by the way, it's just a whole lot of fun." Is this something that interests him and intrigues him rather than something that he believes? Well, let's look at the lyrical content from albums 1 to 5. So I do remember listening to that Radio 1 interview back in 2009. I was on the car park at work, ready to go into work, and I thought I'll just stay for a few minutes and listen. And when he did say that he's not a religious person at all, I was kind of struck by that, and I always sort of kept that in mind. And in the years and years listening to the songs in their albums, it is striking how much God and religion comes up in the music, which led me to try and compile all the times that this has come up. Now, there are 37, from what I can see or believe to be, references to either God, religious, something holy at least, in the entire 10 albums that they've done so far, including the Balance Not Symmetry soundtrack. But I'm just going to focus for now on the first 5 albums, and I think they're around 16, 17, around that area. The first time we hear something remotely religious is back in 1997 with the Iname EP and the earliest version of All the Way Down Chapter 2. And the first verse goes, "It sat beside his bed as near as it could go. He read it every night just before he'd go. Asleep for the night with his dreams he'd fight, God save his soul. His mum would say to him, 'No, don't be afraid, son, there's no way you'll go all the way down.'" Can only assume there that all the way down is meaning hell, and obviously the the thing at the side of his bed, I would think it's quite obvious that it's a Bible, and it's I think it's kind of him pondering heaven and hell and right and wrong in the world. And to be honest, it's quite a naive look at the Bible and Christianity maybe. But I think it's a bit sixth formy. It's the kind of song that you would write around that age. And, you know, they're quite sort of new to writing songs at this point. You know, we're in, I think they've only been going a couple of years. 1997 this was released. So you can forgive them slightly for the slightly clunky lyrics. But I really like the song, and it's the first time we ever hear something remotely religious in Biffy Clyro's music. From what I can tell, there are no religious or godlike lyrics in the entire Blackened Sky. Like I've said before, you know, particularly early on in the couple of albums, the lyrics are very much of your own working out, because they do feel like a bit cryptic at times. But there is a B-side called Hope for an Angel, which is one of my favourite B-sides, and it goes, I believe in the human need to believe there's hope for an angel, one who's gone, for he had become in the sky, there's space for an angel. I mean, that has kind of, I think, a little bit of religious undertones there. Maybe someone's passed on and they're wanting this person to go to heaven because there's space up there. This person's very angelic. You know, it's not completely obvious. You can decode it and think about it in your own way, which I suppose is the beauty of the song. But for me, I got a really kind of a sense that someone has passed on, and Simon's a little bit worried that this person might not go up to heaven and be taken care of that way. So now we move on to The Vertigo of Bliss. Two religious references that I can see, both containing the word God. My favourite song, Toys, 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 Choke, Toys, Toys, Toys. In the shadows of your eyes you look like God, I will be right here. I mean, I really love that lyric. It's a fantastic song anyway. It's probably nailed on my favourite. And when Si screams God, it's really a great moment in the song. I took from that maybe Simon is considering the person he's looking at to be godlike and perfect. And if it is that, it's a really, really great way of putting it. So that's the first reference. The second one is in the song A Day Of. A bit of a more flippant look at God here. I get my drugs from God, oh yeah. You should see the shit he's got, oh yeah. You should see how high I go, oh yeah. So the beauty of the song is very sort of, it's very quick, and it's very, you know, it's proper punk rock, this song. Absolutely love it. But maybe Simon's thinking that, you know, along with drugs, maybe religion gives you a high as well, and what God gives to you if you are a religious person. Maybe you get the same high that you do from drugs. Now we move on to Infinity Land, the third album. A couple of references here, including the album artwork, which when I first saw it, I was completely sort of weirded out by it. I remember getting a massive poster and putting it on my bedroom wall. It was a huge poster of the album artwork, and it basically covered one wall. And the main guy with the gas mask is doing the kind of Jesus pose. So that has quite religious undertones, but of course there's things that, you know, he's wearing a blazer and a gas mask, so it's kind of a little bit masked there and covered. A couple of references in this album cycle, including There's No Such Thing as a Jaggy Snake, in which Si screams, look up. Captain Cry says, you think too much about the wrong thing. I really like the fact that he's put Captain before Christ. I think it's quite a sort of askance look at Christ and God being in charge and being the leader, being the captain of the world. I mean, maybe that's not the way he wanted it to be, but that's certainly what I got from it. My favourite B-side from this album cycle is Corfu. I think it's a great song. And I think coming up to the chorus, he says, say hi to God for me, I'm hemorrhaging. Lie and make me sound good for you. I think that's a really powerful lyric. I think he puts himself as a lower status than the person he's talking about and singing about, as if this person's going up to meet God and basically saying, you need to lie and say that I'm a good enough person for you. So there is evidence here that Simon is writing about God as the higher power and the person who is judging. And in hearing this lyric, and I'm going to say this a hell of a lot in this when I'm covering this subject, it does appear that on the face of it, Simon is a religious person in the things that he's writing about and the position he's putting God in. Lots of references to God and religion in the album Puzzle, album 4. Like I said before, the death of Simon's mother obviously had a massive influence, massive impact on him and therefore his writing. So Get Fucked Stud, Pretend to Burn in Hell, To Be the God of All Will Follow Me. The conversation is, I wander streets at night and hope to God to see your face. The B-side, Hermaphrodite. Got a gun aimed at God, squeeze the trigger and let it out. I'll take the easy way out. Scared of Lots of Everything. Probably my favourite B-side from this era. How does it feel to have a magical place called home? All of God's affection and my eyes sown. And another B-side, Asexual Meat Kitchen. I was born in the mystic summer rain, in a field surrounded by holy men. I'm losing by far. A slight reference there in the fact that it's holy men. That's why I had to add that in there. But the song that comes up probably the most is the first track, Living is a Problem Because Everything Dies. I fear God because everything dies, babe. I met God and he had nothing to say to me. I pray to God that you're right before my eyes, bathed in white light and halos in your eyes. And listening to this so far, I think it's the most evidence that you could point at to say that he is a God-fearing person. And obviously the death of his mother's probably made him think about, the afterlife and if there is one or not. The idea of meeting God and him having nothing to say to him is a really, really strong and really striking image, I think. Really powerful lyric, as if God is this passive person who sort of is a little bit disappointed in Si here. And I think, the grieving process is something that we all go through. It's clearly something Simon's gone through. I think he's put it really beautifully here. The idea of heaven and a person being angelic and having visions of a person passing on. When Simon dies or even when he closes his eyes, does he see her? So there is evidence that he's thinking about what goes on after someone dies, which is, very natural. And for album 5, in Only Revolutions, there are a couple of references. The first song, Captain, he contradicts himself. I am not the Son of God, and then later, I am the Son of God. Hoses, got Jesus' autograph, no handshake or pat on the ass. His saving grace was talking fast. The idea of getting Jesus' autograph is quite a striking one, I think. It's a really, really great image, as if to put this Jesus character as like a celebrity of our time and trying to get his autograph. I love that lyric. My favourite B-side from this cycle is Creative Burns. God damn you all, you bastard sons. Forgiveness is gone, you're hanging on. Forgive me, Father, I have sinned. I mean, so many references to, religion and being wanted to be forgiven for your sins here. And really, really strong messages. But of course, the song God and Satan has the most religious God references to it. I talk to God as much as I talk to Satan because I want to hear both sides. Well, I look up to God and I see trouble because this ain't a miracle. Again, he's pondering the good and bad. He's trying to be fair and reasonable and listening to both sides. He's trying to play devil's advocate, let's say. And he is acknowledging here that there is someone up there. He is looking up to God. So even though he has said he's not a religious person, he has referenced a few times that there could be an existence, and he has sort of acknowledged it, which I think is quite striking. So quite a lot of references in the first 5 albums of Biffy Clyro to God and religion. So why does Simon Neil talk and sing and write about God in his songs? There's a couple of reasons I think. It might not be right, but it's just the way I'm kind of trying to decode what he's writing about. I think it's a way of trying to understand the world when you go through things. You know, you're brought up with religion more often than not from a very early age, and you're told everything about it as much as you possibly can. And then it's up to you to figure out what the rights and wrongs are. And I think that that's something that really interests and intrigues Simon. It's also a way of trying to understand grief, I think, try to understand life and death, and that's something that he's gone through in these first couple of albums. But more than anything else, I truly believe that Simon is more interested in the mystery and the imagery of religion, and I think that's why he puts quite a lot of that into his songs. You know, he has says that he's not a religious person. He does have the tattoos, so I think he is interested in all the imagery that goes along with it. But when he writes about God and religion in his songs, I think it's about the not knowing and the sort of opaqueness of everything. I truly believe it's the mystery of him, you know, not having a religion, but still being interested in everything else that goes along with it. So there are 16 or 17 references in the first 5 albums. There's more in the next 5 albums, which we'll get onto. And I think the references and the symbolism gets stronger as his songwriting gets stronger. And that's something I'm really looking forward to getting into.